Hi, I'm Talisha Thomas.
I'm Amanda.
Hi, I'm Anthony.
I'm Kayla.
And I'm Cody, and we're students from Thomas Jefferson Middle School in Dubuque, Iowa.
And this is our chef, Jim Terry. Jim, what are we cooking today?
We are making Pommes Rotis avec sauce.
Okay.
It's hot fries with gravy, and it's fantastic.
And this is
Kids in the Kitchen!
Before we start cooking, we gotta start shopping. And this is Shopping with the Chef. So Jim, what do we need for this recipe?
We need some different ingredients than anything we've done really on the show before, along with some old friends too. But I don't mean literally friends we're going to be cooking, but familiar ingredients rather. Anyway, we're going to be getting some tamari, which is a natural soy sauce, and we're going to be using grape juice in this recipe too, which is kind of an interesting idea. But we need vegetables, as always, and we could use a little bit of flour. It's kind of spread out around the store, so we should get going, or we're not going to have enough time to make what we need to make. Amount we can get, and we need it to be good, really good grape juice. Here we go. Yeah. The Knudsen Just Concord. This thing is fantastic, and you'll notice some interesting things we can talk about later, but this is beautiful grape juice. Away we go. Okay, we're looking for natural tamari, which is a soy sauce that is made naturally as it has been made for many, many hundreds of years. Condiments. Are we seeing any? Are we going to have to look for Oriental foods maybe here? Because I'm not seeing the tamari anywhere. Sorry. Asian. That's what we're looking for.
Asian.
Sorry.
Asian.
Behold, here it is. Excellent. Real stuff. This is the naturally brewed tamari. Beautiful. This is what soy sauce is all about. Real soy sauce, not the brown sugar and salt water that's served at inexpensive Oriental restaurants. This is the real stuff, and it has a rich, complex flavor, and actually some interesting nutrients too. I wouldn't recommend eating a bowl of it, but as a condiment, it's very, very reasonable and not at all bad. Very tasty. We're good to go. We're going to get some herbs, and then we're going to be off to produce. Aha! Infiltrate herbs. We're looking for bay leaves, or laurel leaves, as they're called. Bay. It's probably going to be bay leaf, and it's the only herb you'll see in a typical place that looks like that. Big flat leaves.
How many of those do you need?
We need one small one, but we're going to get a few for later because we want to justify the expenditure of time and plastic bag resources. Absolutely. And we need to get the number off the top of this to utilize the scale.
Where do bay leaves come from, Jim?
I believe they were indigenous to the Mediterranean region. And there's a fascinating and wonderful old episode of the first Star Trek series called Who Mourns for Adonis? And bay leaves, or laurel leaves, figure very prominently in the final, poignant, closing line of the episode. And I'll leave it to you to go check it out, because it's wonderful.
So if they're called laurel leaves, you can also wear them as a crown like in ancient times?
You are absolutely correct, and that's another feature of this wonderful episode. And they were worn. They were considered a sign of, I think, salubriousness.
So you can wear them and you can eat them?
Well, you can flavorize things with them. Chowing down on laurel leaves is really not where you want to go, and a little bit goes a long way as far as flavoring foods. But we got to weigh these first and get our price on it. If you'll throw them on the scale, please, and print this number.
Is that what you're paying at?
6432. You got your number already in? Yeah, you got it. Print, and you're good to go. So the number's already in. Fantastic. 16 cents.
Wow.
Perfect.
Put it on there.
We have 16 cents worth of bay leaves.
Excellent. Excellent. We're off to get our vegetables to produce. Away we go. We're going to be using a lot of potatoes today, and there's some interesting information coming to the fore about potatoes. Some people think that they're maybe not the best food to eat, but as usual, a little bit of knowledge is kind of counterproductive, because as latest research shows, the different types of potatoes have different qualities. Some of them have more fiber than others. Some of them have a higher glycemic index, but it really depends on the kind of potato, where it's grown, and how it's prepared. Leaving the skins on, if they are organically grown, is a very good thing. commercially grown potatoes are in the top 10 for produce that hang on to the pesticides and herbicides that are used in their production. So if you can find organic ones, you're doing yourself a huge favor by using organics as opposed to conventionally grown potatoes. So we'd like to see that turn around.
It's just a decoration.
Oh. Behold, this is what we see. Sorry, I got excited. These are russet potatoes, and these are indeed the ones we want because they have a particularly excellent combination of tendencies, which are the ability to crisp up really nicely when they're going through the process that we're putting them through. They have a relatively high amount of nutrients. They have a relatively high amount of fiber in them too. And when we leave the skin on, we increase the amount of fiber in the potato drastically. So these are wonderful potatoes and the best ones to use. Add them to the cart, please.
So they're spuds.
Celery hearts.
Okay.
Carrots are right down the bottom. He's got
Outstanding.
baby carrots on his cart.
Okay, thank you very much, Kurt.
Yep.
A well-organized and informed Hy-Vee staff member, by the way.
And he's on camera
And
too.
he was unprepped. That was completely unscripted. A fine selection of organic produce, including organic green beans that you don't see around very much. And oh, thank goodness we stopped because here are the celery. We just need a little bit of celery, so we'll take some of these hearts for our mirepoix.
Celery hearts?
Go ahead.
What are celery hearts?
Well, as opposed to the entire celery cluster with the outer ribs and the tops and the big root thing at the bottom, we just get the hearts, which the very heart, of course, is a very pale yellow thing, which has a very different flavor and doesn't have as much of the flavorizing agents that we want. So it's the heart in a way, but it's not the deep core, which doesn't have that much in it. This actually is a great compromise because the larger things, coarser ribs from the outside are removed already, and the leaves and the root.
Can I ask
But
you a
isn't that
question?
doesn't that make it all organic if it has all that stuff?
No, well, organic has to do with the way that the food is raised and processed.
Oh,
Okay? So you cannot change an organic nature of something by physically altering the product after it's grown. Fresh produce like these, celery, green leafy things in particular, things like broccoli, collard greens, those kind of things. Once you pick them, their nutrient levels drop precipitously within 48 hours to a week. It's just dropping like this. So the fresher you can get your stuff, the better. I mean, try it. Get broccoli fresh out of your garden, and then go to a grocery store that doesn't really stay on top of it very well as to how long they're keeping the stuff in storage, and you will notice a drastic difference in the way the stuff tastes. And you don't have to be a geek or a flavor fascist or anything like that to see the difference, because it's very obvious.
I will not be a flavor fascist.
I'm awfully glad to hear that. Let's get onion. And they are nearby. Okay. Onion. Okay, we're getting some onions, and we don't need a lot this time, and nobody has to mince them. I've been putting kids through absolute torture, having them mince onions to a fine, tiny dice. And today we're going to do a relatively rough chop. These are pretty small, but they're nice and they're very fresh. This looks like new crop onion. So let's get 2 of them. I tend to overdo it. Let's do one onion this time only. I'm going to restrain myself. And away we go.
Don't we need a bag?
No, it's okay like it is. Does it have a sticker? I think it's got a sticker in it. Yep, that's good, so we can get our pricing off of it later. And then I think we got the potatoes, we got the olive oil, we got the basil, we got the pepper, we got the pepper, we got the water, we got the tomato, we got the grape juice, we got the tomatoes, we got the garlic, we got the... No, tomatoes! We need a couple of tomatoes. Let's do that. And somewhere over this way. Relatively hard. Oh, here we got one that's getting soft. And the fact that it's got a little cosmetic problem doesn't bother us because we're not worried about that. We want to get the flavor out of it, and that one feels pretty good.
Okay,
We want some
and
actual tomato flavor.
like the little tomatoes, do they come from like the same family as the big tomatoes?
Actually, my understanding is that most of these grape tomatoes are a genetically altered product. They've been sort of created in a laboratory. I don't know if all of them have, but most grape tomatoes have been. And that doesn't really interest me very much right now. There may be a time when our food system is so screwed up that we have to get our food entirely out of a laboratory, but right now I'm trying to look for things that more or less come out of the ground and are of types that we've been eating for a long time.
What are these?
Avocados. And those are ripe too. Those got to be eaten soon. This is a great time to make guacamole. When they look like this and they're not too shriveled. This one looks maybe a little bit past it, but no, that's not bad. It's starting to show a little bit of bloom on the outside. That's usually a danger sign. But most of the rest of these, they're just yielding. You don't want to go jamming your thumb into it because that will create a bruise and will damage the fruit. But if you just feel this delicate yielding, you know that you're ready to go. And that color is very good. So this is the time to get them. Here we go. It doesn't have a lot of color, but it does yield well, and we will get some nice tomato flavor and some acid out of there, which is what we need for our stock.
These are nice.
I'm going to check the list
tomatoes.
one more time. Sorry, watch your kneecaps. Here we go, coming through. We got our olive oil, onion, carrot, celery, mushrooms. 1 container of sliced mushrooms, and I think we're done. And we'll head back. They're usually stacked over here. front of you. Excellent, thank you.
I'm just gonna stand out of the way. Hello.
These are nice, and they're, you know what? Here, these are nice and small too. These are ready to rock and roll. Let's take these. Perfect, perfect. They are washed and rinsed. Watch your cords.
Jim, how do you shop for mushrooms?
Well, you're looking for appearances. In this case, we're going for something that's pretty convenient because these are already sliced up, cleaned, and ready to go. That's going to save us a few minutes in the kitchen. But mushrooms, you want to make sure that they have not begun to disintegrate or get slimy. You look underneath to see if they're a gilled mushroom, how do the gills look? If they're a wild mushroom, there's a lot of particulars about wild mushrooms we won't get into, but going to the store basically, checking to see that the color looks good, that they're not disintegrating, that's really the key. And these are good. They've got a well-maintained produce farm. Check them out. Now these look very dark, but they're supposed to be. This is a shiitake. This is a wood-grown mushroom. They're grown on logs, oaken logs that have been inoculated with spores. And they grow, and there's a really interesting technique, which we won't get into right now, for making them grow faster. It used to take 5 years to get your first shiitake harvest.
Jim,
Yes?
are these shiitake mushrooms the same as the little mushrooms?
They are not. They are a different species, and they have different nutritional profile.
So
These have significantly more minerals, and they are also thought to have medicinal properties, but they also just taste great. They've got a richer, meatier kind of a flavor. Those are very mild.
Jim, how nutritional can mushroom be?
As far as actual measurable nutrients and vitamins, mushrooms are not a big source of nutrition. They're more about the flavor, trace elements. They're a fun thing to add to your foods. Making a whole big giant meal of mushrooms is not really very useful because they don't have that much stuff in them. They're mostly water.
But I love them on pizza.
I know I do. Oh, yeah. They've got a good selection of dried chilies over there. Okay, actually, the idea for this came from a good friend, Gary Henderson, who lives in Elgin, Illinois. When he was up in Ontario, Canada, he had frite avec sauce on several occasions, basically fried potatoes with gravy. And so I thought it would be really fun to do a version of it that used really good ingredients and was actually good for you, because frite avec sauce is a great thing to plug your gut with, but usually the way most potatoes are prepped and the way most sauces are made, it's really just a gut filler and it's not very good for you. But this is actually a nutritious snack, so let's do it. It's going to be really fun. It's basic knife skills time again, but we're going to answer a very important question that was just posed is this knife clean? Look at that knife. Doesn't it look really crusty and scuzzy? Well, it isn't. It's been sanitized. It's completely clean, but this is not stainless steel. This is carbon steel, and it's a traditional metal that's been used for a very long time. And it does have a tendency to pit and corrode. We wash it, we clean it. You can do a real good scouring job on it with steel wool and things such as that to shine it up. But it's still going to oxidize almost immediately after using it. The important thing about it is it takes an edge really well. It's very easy to sharpen, and they just develop sort of their own personality after a while. You recognize the old oxide marks all over and you go, oh, that's my old favorite knife. You know it, you know how it feels, it's like an old friend. Anyway, the reason we're using it here on hard vegetables is because these aren't going to have a problem with the fact that this is carbon steel and it's going to oxidize. Potatoes, tomatoes on the other hand, you really don't want to use this kind of a knife on them because it does react. And it's not even really fully understood what reactions between acid foods and reactive metals are, like aluminum. Cook off potatoes in an aluminum pot, what happens? The pot turns a really weird color and it makes the stuff really scummy and gray. So you want to avoid reactive metals like aluminum with acid foods like tomatoes and potatoes. And did you know that potatoes and tomatoes are in the same group? They're both nightshades, like peppers. Incidental information. All right, let's chop. And again, choking up here a little bit like this, getting a really good grip on it gives you stability. So when you're chopping, you have really good control. Have at it. And those pieces are plenty small. They don't even have to be quite that small, but go for it. You want them to be regular and have the same size. Because as we know, one of the cornerstones of great cuisine is getting pieces the same size. I'm only being slightly sarcastic. And the same with the celery. And you can do a number of pieces at once. Want to do this? Sure. And we'll get you on to potatoes, too. Like so. Are you comfortable with that? Holding them down and just making sure you don't get your finger in the way. You ready to roll? Okay, good. Now let's do some potatoes. Where'd they end up? Here they are. Something's beeping. Do you know what or why? Listen.
I think it's that.
Is it me? We've got our beautiful russet potatoes, and we're going to cut them into wedges. We've got our hot boiling water over here, which is going to be used in the process to get them to where they want to be. Let's find some knives that are going to work for us. We want a pretty nice big chef knife. That one will work. And this one will work.
Since you're a professional chef, Jim, what's the worst injury you've ever had?
In a kitchen, interestingly, the only thing that ever forced me to leave the kitchen, I think, was getting a powerful detergent in my eyes. and then I had to go up to the emergency room and have them checked out to see if I'd scorched my cornea or anything like that. So that taught me a lesson. When I'm handling big 5-gallon drums of rinse agent for a low-temperature dish machine, I put goggles on. Safety, basic protection. I learned my lesson.
Geez, I thought maybe a cut or a burn or anything
Well,
like that.
there was this deep gouge that was spurting out the window of my Volkswagen as I drove down to the hospital. There was this one that laid it down to the bone, but look, no blood, no decay, just a few stitches. And now the final touch, the brain you stole, the brain of a dead man. Well, stop right there, I think, sorry. All right. Now, to chop the potatoes, the first thing we want to do is not have a round thing rolling around, because that's a pain, isn't it? So let's not make it round anymore. I mean, let's make it so it is not round anymore. This knife is extremely dull. That's a problem. And because it is serrated, we cannot sharpen it today. So we're going to get a different knife. Ooh, look at that. Let me see. There might be something over here that's going to work for us. Oh, check it out. That's also relatively dull. We're going to give it a quick run over the coarse steel. This steel actually does sharpen. Most steels just hone a knife, but this one has a really heavily raised surface, so it should actually give us a nice ripping. Oh, that's ripping. Ready? Here we go. Watch your kneecaps. Here we go.
Watch your kneecaps.
Sorry, we always say that. At our restaurant, we had these low oven doors in a very, very compressed space. We had half the space of this kitchen for a restaurant that had 80 seats. So we were, shall we say, at close proximity to each other. So we'd be opening the door constantly and getting in each other's face. Watch your kneecaps. Watch your kneecaps. It was a general notice to watch out. Somebody's coming through either with a hot thing or a hot oven door is going to open, and you're in danger of injury. See what we're doing here?
Potatoes?
See what I'm trying to do? I'm attempting to create more or less a wedge shape. These aren't terribly regular, but they will work for us. And there's a way of arranging them on the pan so they'll cook at the same amount of time. So let's put them into an auxiliary container.
Can I cut
Right
the
there.
potatoes?
Please, let's get somebody. No, wait, what did you just chop? You just did some chopping already, didn't you? You didn't?
No,
I lied. Do some chopping. We got to find some other work for people around here. We're never going to get done. Hey, I know. Let's make some sauce. We got to do that immediately. So let's wash these tomatoes, please. Wash them well. They are commercial. Use the hottest water you can stand. We need to chop an onion.
I will.
Oh, you know what? We can use those cutting boards down there. Let's get those chopped ingredients into some bowls, measuring cups, and then we can get
Don't
them
we
off
have
those.
to peel the skin off of the onion first?
Yes, and again, because we don't want to work with a round thing, let's cut it in half first because that's easy, and then it's easy to peel too because we've got all kinds of areas to start peeling from rather than trying to peel a round thing. So let's get it on a cutting board first. It's not a soft, squishy tomato or a nightshade. Now, where's your thumb? Right under where I'm putting my knife. Bingo. Now we'll take off the roots down here, and we'll take off the little nubbin at the top. This is nice and sharp, by the way, this knife. Like so. Now, it's easy to peel. Heh. It's supposed to be easy to peel.
Yeah.
Like so. Lovely. And you know what? We're making a stock, so having a little bit of a ridge like this, which we would not want to get into like a soup where the pieces of onions are going to be, or a ratatouille or something where we're actually going to be eating the physical onions, this is not going to be a problem to have in our sauce because we're straining all the vegetables out. There's not going to be any vegetables in this sauce. But many of their nutrients are going to be in there, and of course all the wonderful flavor. So, there we are. And you're on with that. That's excellent. Oh, the chop. Let me just show you really quickly while you're still peeling that, and then I'll leave you to be while I'm doing some other stuff. The chop is very much like what we're doing with the carrot. We've got a nice flat surface to work with, just like a paper cutter. Bing. Okay?
Okay.
Excellent. And hold on a second. What we're looking for are going to the radius. We're going to pretend that the whole thing is together, and we're going towards, we want to have relatively equal wedges, and we kind of eyeball it. How many wedges can we get out of here that are going to be about the same size? I didn't do a great job, but yeah, exactly right. 3. So let's go to the third and sort of imagine where the center line is. Like so. And now we do it again, kind of aiming towards where the point is. And we got wedges. They're not all the same thickness because the potato is irregular. They're not, what's the word I'm looking for? The same all the way around. Round.
Spherical.
Totally lost here. Vocabulary's gone. Okay, so throw them into the big bin and then get going on another tater. You're good to go. Ah, tomatoes, yes. And we want to get all the wonderful juices and everything out of here. Do we have a cutting board back again? We do. Can we send that down here and get somebody else on chopping duty? And then, have you had a chance to chop anything yet?
No.
Okay, we're gonna have you get onto the actual sauce making. Oh, we're gonna have you peel the garlic because that's fun too. We need a non-reactive knife. Are we seeing one free? We are. The chef knife at the end. Use your best knife handling abilities so that nobody gets impaled. Fantastic. Thank you. Get that little knob out of there. Oh, some people take great pleasure in that, particularly right off the vine. They love that fresh tomato flavor and just grab it, eat it like an apple. But, you know, for a long time, they were deemed to be poisonous by early explorers in the New World. At least it was new to them.
How did they find out it wasn't poisonous?
Well, I don't know why they got that idea in the first place, but it was long thought to be something that you really didn't want to eat.
Maybe because it had so much juice in it.
Maybe. They're acidic. I was scared of them. I wouldn't eat anything with tomatoes until I was 20 years old, including ketchup, tomato sauces of any kind. Couldn't even deal with it. Hated it. It was a vegetable after all.
Jim, you didn't like ketchup?
I did not eat it until I was nearly an adult, in any form. Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Jim, you're weird.
I've been told that. Pieces about like that are fine. And you don't have to be totally regular, but that's a nice way to get it chopped. We need to have garlic chopped up. Oh, I was going to have you on garlic, and you just lost it. We got aced out of the tomatoes. We're going to have you on garlic then. How are we doing? Are we looking good there? That's excellent. If you will add those to the bowl with our mirepoix in it, that'll be fantastic.
Okay.
Excellent. Now, garlic duty. If someone please hand over that entire clump of garlic and give us back that cutting board, we're ready to rock and roll on those. Superb. Thank you. And we have that, oh yes, here it is. Excellent.
Jim, what are the nutritious qualities of garlic?
Well, garlic's used in pretty small quantity, except in dishes where you're like roasting off whole heads and then scooping up the melted schmoozy garlic goo onto crispy bread, which can be really, really fun. After it's been slow roasted with garlic in a low oven, it can be really delicious that way. But garlic has an effect of helping the circulatory system. It's really great for the arteries, and it's known that it could be one of the contributing factors to the healthy Mediterranean diet. People who eat the so-called healthy Mediterranean diet, olive oil, lots of vegetables, a lot of things in the allium family, and that's what garlic and onions both are in. They're both members of the alliums. And you ever see those purple flowers? They have like a straight green stalk, and then it looks like a big purple dandelion. You ever see those around in people's gardens? That's a floral allium, but if you smell it, it has a very noticeable onion aroma, particularly when you chop it. But you probably don't want to chop it. It'll really irritate the people who've spent a long time growing that pretty ornamental flower.
Jim, am I telling these right?
You are, but you can actually have an easier job. Actually, there's a lot of ways to do it, and one of the favorite ways to do it is to smash the clove with the side of a cleaver or a heavy knife. But we can also simply cut it in half, which is fine too, and get that stuff off of there. And again, because we're not actually eating the garlic, getting absolutely everything off of it is not really a big deal. With some dishes, since the garlic can be consumed, you want to get off that little woody end down at the bottom. But here, it's not a big deal, because again, we just want it for flavor. And after you peel that one, we're done. We need 3 cloves only for this recipe. Are you doing okay there? Yeah, those look good. Those look very good. Your tomatoes are beautiful. Okay, I'm going to start heating up the fat, and we're going to start rolling on this sauce, because we got to get this rocking. Front.
Nice cut shaped tomato.
Oh, yeah, let's put this up here so you guys can get a good look at it. Let's get some olive oil in here, and we want exactly 2 tablespoons or thereabouts. That looks like about a tablespoon, and then there's another, maybe a tablespoon. Ooh, that looks pretty good. All right, grand.
You're not very precise in your measurements.
That is exactly the right amount. But no, and a little bit of a latitude is always fun to take. You don't want to overdo it, but after a while you'll learn that rigid adherence to recipes, sometimes you have to. Because if you don't follow exactly some very, very exacting recipes, you won't get any desired results at all, and it'll be a real mess. Like in baking. Things that are very, very, like making puff pastry, you got to be very exact, and you start to develop a feel for it. Not only do the ingredients have to be exact, but your technique has to be exact. Otherwise, your rise in puff doesn't happen. So, and then you've spent all that time and you've wasted it. Sometimes you can do everything right, and it still doesn't rise. So that's part of the picture.
So, Jim, cooking can be full of disappointments.
Like everything that's worthwhile. It's true. All right, look at that. Nice. Now it's going to sizzle. We want to crank this up to the highest possible degree to get a nice browning. I think I say in the recipe medium to high heat. But we want to have a good sizzle going on, and we want it to brown up. So it's going to probably take 5 to 10 minutes. So let's get going on some other things. Our mushrooms are already chopped, and we are going to add those. This actually is a little bit much. I don't want to overdo it on these, but maybe a cup's worth. Does that look like about a cup? I think that's about right. That'll be enough mushroom flavoring to get into the dish. Let's get all our spices in order and put them in a small dish so we have all those ready. All we have to do is dump them in when it's time to reduce our sauce. And then we'll start our potatoes going, and then while those are in the oven and the sauce is reducing, we can then go to Manners Make Magic.
What kind of spice is this?
That actually is salt. And the reason it looks weird is because it has the residual minerals and trace elements from the actual clean seawater that it was evaporated from.
It really does look like sand.
Doesn't it? Yeah. Now, you'll find that actually most so-called sea salt you'll see on the shelf in the store, if it even says sea salt. Sometimes in health food stores from large manufacturers it'll say sea salt. Well, the thing about it is so heavily refined in most cases, it's identical to land salt that comes out of the blue canister, you know, with the person with the umbrella over their head. It's identical. It doesn't have anything in it. It's just sodium chloride with a flowing agent added to it. This is the real stuff. Those are black peppercorns.
Smells like home.
It smells like my home, that's for sure.
How many teaspoons do you want?
2 teaspoons. Now, and check it out. That's teaspoon. The big T means tablespoon. The capital T, rather. Right. So you should know that. That's an important thing that not everybody knows if you haven't used a lot of recipes before. Big T is teaspoon, small T, pardon me. Big T is tablespoon, small T is teaspoon, C is cup.
Jim, what should I do with the potatoes?
Okay, this is a wonderful question, and we're going to do it all together. I think there actually can only be 1 point person, though, that's going to get the hot thing going. There's a lot of ways of cooking potatoes, but it's found that one of the very best ways of doing it is giving them a pre-soak, a light poaching, in hot water or hot fat. Now, we're already going to be using some oil to coat them, olive oil, admittedly, but still, if we can reduce the oil that's going to be involved in the whole process, that's better. And if we can use water, not only is it there's an advantage in a lot of ways, it's a lot less expensive than good quality oil. Pardon me? We're going to come across.
Okay, I added the
That's good.
pepper.
Now we need also, my piece of paper's right there. If you will follow and see the things that you recognize, the thyme is there. Measure that out and put that in. It's 1 teaspoon of that.
Where do,
And then also we need our 1 bay leaf. And please select the smallest of the bay leaves you find in there, because a little bit goes a long way. Now look at that. See, now we're starting to get some caramelization. See if we can find, see a little browning going on? That adds flavor. All that brown stuff is all flavor. We want to get that flavor in there. So we brown it up real good. And there's going to be more. And so we're going to get all those wonderful caramelized bits off the pan once we're done with that part.
Can you hand me a small bay leaf?
It's in, that's it. That's perfect. There we are.
And
That's our
that's
bouquet
it.
garni.
We
Now
don't need this?
you're going to be heavily involved in the process of sauce making, so don't give up yet. Thank you for your patience. You're being very good. All right, now I'm going to do this part because it's really, really dangerous. We will need it later because we're going to season that. We're going to sprinkle the fries lightly. And I'm calling them fries, and in fact, they're roasted. Oh, do me a favor, will you? Throw this garlic into that pan, just like it is. You can scrape them right in with your hand if you want to. Oh, sorry, the pan's going on the stove, and beware, it's very hot. I got the thing cranked up.
What should I do with the potatoes?
We're going to hold on to those for a minute. We want the other vegetables to brown up first, and if we add the tomatoes now, that's an excellent question, though. Why are we waiting? The reason we're waiting is because the tomatoes are full of water. And if we throw them in now, we're not going to get that caramelization in the first place, and we want that browning. The browning is where that flavor comes from, and that's really going to affect the final flavor of the sauce. Very important. Excellent question. Thank you for asking it. Now, we got this water that's extremely hot, and notice I'm pouring very slowly so it doesn't backsplash and scald all of us, because that's a really horrendous kitchen injury that we don't want to deal with. Look at it.
It looks very hot.
Perfect.
I do too. I make cookies. I know how to make peach cobbler.
We're going to have a lot of potatoes. I think we got more than we have room for in the pan, so I'm bringing another pan. Because you can't go wrong with more potatoes. A little more browning, and then we're going to be ready to add those vegetables. And the mushrooms. Excellent. All right, let's secure these in the refrigerator and reduce the amount of clutter. Excellent.
We have mushrooms, onions, celery, tomatoes, and just carrots. Just about it. And garlic.
We are going to make a, oh, look at that. Isn't that getting nice and schmoozy? Check that out. But this is really where it's important to keep stirring, because as we can see, the liquids that I was talking about before are reducing rapidly. So if it just sits there, it's going to scorch, and then we're going to be in deep trouble, and we'll have food that will be bad to eat. We don't want that. All right, let's turn this on. We're going to make our roux. We're learning another French term, and I didn't even bring it up before.
Okay.
This is all part classic cuisine. Hold on to your flour. Let's get your oil going in there. Excellent. Ah, there you go. Oil, particularly in our culture, you bet oil's bad, because not only is the oil of low quality, because it has been put through all sorts of horrendous processes, and because it's oxidizing all over the place, and if it isn't oxidizing because the manufacturers are smart and they don't want it to oxidize and taste bad, they hydrogenate it.
What does oxidizing mean?
Oxidizing means it is becoming rancid due to the effect of oxygen on unstable oils. Now, this is an important point. I'm going to make that real simple. Oils that require a tremendous amount of force to get out of whatever they are in tend to oxidize fast, okay? That's like most of the oils that we are seeing in the past 50 years. The ancient oils that have been used for millennia, olive oil, sesame oil, these come out of their sources very easily. You can do it with a simple press. You don't need gigantic industrial machinery. You don't need hydraulics. And these oils are very stable. Olive oil does not oxidize rapidly. Sesame oil does not oxidize rapidly. Actually, ghee that's made from butter, cook the butter until all of the solids and the moisture evaporates out and the solids drop to the bottom and you have this beautiful pure fat. Now it's highly saturated. You don't want to use a lot of it. But as a cooking fat, as a cooking medium, when you're not, filling your body with, French fries and Cheetos and all of this sort of passively added fats that really kind of takes over your diet, because you already have all this fat going on in your diet. So using beautiful fats kind of becomes a moot point. Why bother? But if you are monitoring that stuff and avoiding standard mass-produced food, these fats can really be good for you. And again, that's part of the so-called healthful Mediterranean diet. A significant amount of olive oil is used. And the relative levels of obesity and disease in those regions is low. Now we have our oil that's becoming hot, and we want to turn this down. It's getting a little bit overexcited. If you will please sprinkle, and just sprinkle. Don't dump it. Sprinkle it as much as you can in there. We're going to start to see some foaming going on. Go ahead. You can sprinkle a little more vigorously. But I'm going to start stirring here, because what we want to do is have an equal amount of fat and flour. Go ahead. Keep going. Excellent technique. Because the raw flour taste is what we want to get rid of. And getting more of that browned, toasty flavor through the cooking of the flour in the fat is going to give us a wonderful roux. And what this actually is going to end up doing is we're making gravy. Because this is basically how gravy's made. When you've got your turkey juices after turkey on Thanksgiving, and people put a little flour into the pan juices and cook it up. This is kind of the same technique. Here, though, we have an advantage because we're cooking the flour first, so we don't have that raw flour taste, and yet we're going to get a really nice, silky consistency to our final sauce.
Can I stir?
And please, and do exactly what, I'm sorry about that. Nice. I got so excited that I knocked the end off the thing. Oh, I think this may be on. No, it's kind of loose. Okay, so do that, and if you start to see any darkening going on, stir more vigorously, turn the heat down, and then when we want to bring this to a couple more shades of richness. And then once we're at that stage, we can pull it off. We want to keep it warm, though.
So when I see it getting brown, like.
A little bit, and it's going to happen in the middle first, even though this is a pretty heavy bottom pan. I'm going to back off the heat just a little bit. Using a heavy bottom pan is important because that distributes the heat out really nicely. Because using a thin bottom pan, those flames are right on it, and what's right above it is going to scorch really fast. And what's at the edges is not going to cook, relatively speaking. This is looking wonderful.
Very beautiful.
Actually, we could probably add our liquids now, and let's go ahead and do that because it is time. Let's get a little bit of grape juice in there. Oh, and now, this is real grape juice. This is really important. It's full of goodies. And you might notice some hard, crunchy things at the bottom. These are not a bad thing. They have no flavor. They are tartrate crystals. You see them in wine, too. But they're just a byproduct of grape production. This is known as the Lisa Nathan jar opening method. You smack the bottom of it. She was a wonderful woman that I worked with at a natural foods restaurant about 25 years ago. Look how easy. Click. And you want to listen for that click, too. The click's got to be there. We're going to use about exactly... Come on. Smell that. Now, does that smell like a grape drink? Or, purple Fanta? No. This is the real stuff. Smell that.
It smells real good.
It smells fantastic.
I have a cup of that.
Yeah, it's very tempting, isn't it?
Me too.
We're going to use about 3/4 of a cup. Let's take a chance. It's a little bit of an experiment because it may make a really weird color. Oh, no, look at that. That's gorgeous.
Beautiful.
Okay, lovely. Okay, we're getting a little bit of a scorch over on the side. We want to get all that brown stuff. See that? Here, I don't know if you can see that on the camera. See this browning around the edge? That's where the sloppy vegetable stuff has been toasted, and that's beautiful. That's what we want. We want to get that stuff into the sauce. So if it was really burned and it was blackened, we would not want to get that into the sauce. Because it's brown, that is excellent. So if you can, do that. If we might need a stiffer spatula to get that off, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how you can do it. If you get some of the moisture up there, that's going to help loosen it. But kind of keep that going. Is that going to work for us? I think that'll work for us. Let's take this to the sink, and we'll use this to kind of hold the potatoes in so they don't all go flopping all over the place.
Jim,
Ready. Yes.
Is this about done?
What is that? Oh, here, yeah. That's very critical, actually. Let's see what's going down. What are you seeing? Oh, okay, you're on top of it. It hasn't changed color much. And you know what I think we should do? We should increase. We need a little bit more flour because it looks like it's not coming together quite the way it should. So let's get a little more flour in there because we want it to be perceptibly thicker. That's what it's doing. That's what we want. You see that? You see the difference there? And that's key. And you have to see it. You have to look at it and see it in order to know the difference. Before, it does look kind of like latex paint, which is good for some things, like batters and things, but this is roux. We want it to be a little bit thicker than that.
Latex paint?
Yeah, we don't want to beat in latex paint, but the consistency I'm talking about.
Isn't that paint that you use on the walls, the paint of the house?
But you know what that looks like, right?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, looks like that. This is good, though. This is looking thicker. This is looking like a thicker pancake batter. Excellent. But you know what I'm thinking? I think we need just a little bit more. We're not quite getting the action. I don't know if the measurements were slightly askew.
Pretty good at multitasking.
But a little bit more. Excellent. That is all good. Let's get our tamari in here. So will somebody please measure 2 tablespoons of this into that pan. And then we're going to dump in our spices. We're going to add our water that's already hot. And then we're going to get our potatoes going, because that's going to be critical. Because while this stuff is simmering and reducing, we want our potatoes to be cooked at the end of that whole road. Folks are doing excellently, by the way. Thank you for your attention and excellent workmanship. The convenient, easy open wrapping is defeating me completely, but I think that's more of a testament to my lack of skills as opposed to the incompetency of the wrapping. Talk about aromas, okay? You smelled the grape juice? Smell that stuff. What's that about? Sorry, that didn't work for you. It's an acquired taste.
Let me smell.
How you doing here? This is all good? Are you looking? Okay, you know what? Maybe we're going to kick up the heat just a little bit because... Wait, scratch that from the record. We didn't say kick up the heat.
He said 2 teaspoons, 2 tablespoons.
Correct.
What should I add it to?
Correct. Directly into this sauce. And you can kind of pour it. Hold on, you want to get your pouring action directly over the pan. That way you won't spill anything. If you can reach that far, you got it. And later on, we may add a little bit more. It's really not being very, well, hold on, turn a little bit on its side. You want to get an air bubble going. And oh, also, give it a quarter twist. Give the bottle a quarter twist. There you go.
Pretty good at multitasking.
You?
No, you.
Oh, well, it's a scattered form of thinking, I think, that comes from kitchen work. Now you're good. Now you're starting getting some real foaming action. It still hasn't darkened yet for unknown reasons. So let's make sure we want to get all that raw flour taste out of there, because that's really going to affect the final flavor of the sauce.
No, I like it.
Okay, let's do it. That's beautiful. Let's get our spices in there. I'm going to dump these in.
Woo!
If you'll mix that all together. Now I think we've got, is everything pretty much in there? That's good. Okay. We're going to have, oh, here, we have an excellent towel for patting these off. Let's drain these taters. Okay, as you can see, we have a couple of different thicknesses here. And because we have some super thick ones and some super thin ones, we're going to have 2 completely different rates of getting done. So we want to take the thickest ones and put them on their own special pan, and also to kind of rotate them to the outside so there's plenty of air around them so they will cook relatively quickly. Otherwise, these other ones are going to be, there's a big thick one, we want to get that one out of there. And we're going to distribute these well and get them in the oven. They've been lightly coated with olive oil, lightly salted. That's all it takes. We throw them in the oven, and our blanching has successfully, blanching it in the hot water, has brought the starches to the surface, and we should get a really nice, somewhat crispy on the outside, moist and tender on the inside product. Okay, is that looking pretty good? Anybody else see any enormous thick ones in here that could use some moving out? Well, wide and thick are 2 different things. Let's see what we're doing here. That's, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right, sir. I stand corrected.
I am.
Oh, God. He's incorrigible.
That's fun.
Yes, sir. Let's see if we got some room for that. We still want to keep some air happening. And otherwise, let's get these other ones on these. We may actually need another tray.
The reason why we're sorting these potatoes out, because some of them are fat and they need time to cook, and the other ones will cook like faster than the fat potatoes. So
We're good. Let's get them in the oven. I think we got enough room on our shelves for 2 of these next to each other. That's going to be beautiful. Okay, ready to rack? In the oven they go. We're going to finish out our sauce, and we are going to have hot fries. If you could put them in side by side, the long way back, you're going to be. They will fit.
I'm trying not to burn myself.
Excellent. Ready, ready.
Oh, I do.
There
Superb.
you go, buddy.
I love fire, so.
Everything has to be perfect.
Fantastic. Ready to rock?
Told
It's
ya.
baking. And are we convecting? Let's convect. Will it let us?
What is convecting, chef?
Convecting in an oven, as opposed to connecting or conventioning, convecting is blowing the hot air around the inside of the oven in a very uniform way, so we don't have any hot spots. You've got this wonderful superheated air blasting the food all over the place in more or less the same way, the same temperature, and it creates an almost frying in space capability.
This is like one of our classrooms in July. Very hot.
I remember. Okay, everything's happening. This is our roux, which we're going to use for thickening our sauce. And this looks like it's come together very nicely. Our aroma is happening, and isn't that interesting? The Concord is coming through. Can you smell it? Amidst all the herbs, can you smell the Concord? But it's not too oppressive. It's not grape-flavored sauce. It's just a nuance. It's a factor. It's one part of the whole picture of the aroma and flavor of what's going to happen here.
I love nuance.
I know.
You know what it was?
But without a doubt, we have enthusiasm for nuance. Okay. So, here's the time frame. This needs to simmer for about 15 minutes. Where it is now, this has been simmering for about 15 minutes or so. Probably needs another 15 minutes to extract as much of the flavor as possible. And then we're going to strain it through a medium mesh strainer. much used, time honored, but still quite functional and sanitary. And then we'll take our stock and we'll combine it with this roux that is being kept warm. And we'll have our sauce. By that time, the fry should be nearly done. And we can feast upon potatoes and sauce.
Well, what other health benefits are there to garlic?
Well, there's, of course, the idea that garlic fends off a cold or keeps away disease. But, of course, one of the ancillary benefits of heavy garlic production or consumption is that you reek of garlic. Maybe that keeps people away who are carrying microbes. I don't know. I like garlic.
I love garlic. And onions.
There was a somewhat dodgy Robin Hood movie made about 10 years ago in which someone defeats an attacker coming up on him from behind because he was downwind of the attacker and the guy reeked of garlic as he came from a land known for its garlic consumption. Not a very interesting story, but I couldn't resist anyway. There we are.
While we're waiting for our potatoes to finish cooking,
And our roux and our sauce to finish simmering. Let's join Manners Make Magic.
I see you all ordered the spaghetti.
It's number 13 on the menu.
Spaghetti has its own unique flavor and challenges.
Like, it can be very messy.
There are 3 ways to make your spaghetti properly disappear.
The twirl
The spoon twirl.
and the cut up.
Here's a trick. Parmesan cheese adds traction if you like it.
I love cheese.
Enough?
That's enough, thank you.
Thank you.
Allow me to demonstrate the twirl. Instead of going for the middle, you go for the outside and only go for a few strands. And you keep it on the plate while you're twirling.
It's alright if a few strands are loose and fall back on your plate. I prefer the spoon twirl because it gives you a little bit more control. What you want to do is put the spoon underneath spaghetti strands, take your fork, just like in the twirl, and twirl it around on the spoon. Keep twirling until you run out of spaghetti.
That's pretty good. I prefer the cut up method. What you do is you cut up the spaghetti, slide it onto your fork.
Molto bene.
I think you've all mastered the art of eating spaghetti.
Ciao bella.
Tutto a posto, which means we're finished.
Ciao, baby.
That's okay. I need one.
You're what?
Thank
You went
you.
away from what?
Excellent. We're going to strain our stock and we're going to make our sauce. It's all going to be a beautiful thing. But this is very dangerous. You see, we have a very big, heavy pan, right? Do you know what I just realized? I told the story of the steak. No, it's the frite avec sauce. Frite avec sauce that my friend Gary Henderson had in Ontario, which was the inspiration for getting this thing together today. Guess who gave me this pan? Gary Henderson. It's the Gary Henderson ceremonial pan. So there we are. Thank you, Gary. It works like a charm. And it's non-reactive, beautiful stainless steel. Look at that.
So we don't eat the vegetables.
I mean, well, you are. You're getting a lot of the, much of the nutrients come out during this long simmering process. Much of what's left is cellulose.
Cellulose. What is
Cellulose. Indigestible stuff. Much, food fiber, basically, which is good for you in a lot of ways, but you don't always have to be consuming vast quantities of cellulose. In fact, during the fiber craze of the 1970s, where more fiber in your diet, no matter what the cost, was one of the watchwords in nutrition, people were putting sawdust into bread to give it higher fiber content. 400% more bread, more fiber than whole wheat bread. 400% more fiber than whole wheat bread was the slogan, and they put sawdust into the loaves. It was horrific.
Horrifying? Do people eat it?
Oh, they did. It was quite popular for a while. And then they realized it tasted terrible and that eating sawdust is not good for people. It's great for termites, but not so good for people. Cellulose at any cost. Now look what we have. We're pushing the juices out of the mirepoix.
Shall we check on the potatoes now?
Nope, too soon. Well, you do a visual check though. Look through the window. Don't open the door because that's going to lose us some calories there, and we want the calories to stay in the oven cooking our food.
So what part of this are we using?
Well, really, we're using everything except the fiber that's left over in the vegetables here. We've pretty much gotten I suppose measurements could be done and different arguments could be made as for how much nutrients we've gotten out of them. But we've gotten much of the flavor and a lot of the nutrients out of these vegetables. So now we're going to discard them or throw them to the hogs in their slops. Do we still have the hogs outside?
We got hogs outside.
Oh, where we go.
Oh. I think Jill was making a joke.
Well, it was like a joke, except it wasn't actually funny.
Because nobody laughed.
You're very courteous, folks, all of you, laughing at my terrible joke. All right. Our roux is warming. I got a feeling about this, and my feeling tells me that for some unknown reason, we require more flour to bind the roux. I'm going to use just a very small amount more.
What
Almost.
exactly does the roux do to the sauce?
The roux thickens the sauce.
Oh, like dipping.
Because right now we have a broth, we have a stock, right? Yeah. I mean, admittedly, a very nice one with a beautiful sheen on top, and it smells fantastic. But it has to have a good consistency or we've wasted our time. So we're going to sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle.
Sprinkle.
It's okay when we threw those vegetables away.
I know. Could have ate that.
And you put it, they can be put in a stew. Those can be used many ways. You can also puree them. If we didn't have like the peppercorns and everything in there and the bay leaf, that would be too much and really horrendous. But if it was just the soft vegetables, those could be buzzed up and you can then add body to a sauce that way. And that's very legitimate and can be very good. And that'll be a different dish for a different day. Okay, now here we go. I've got this back on the heat again just to make sure it's imperative that we get the right consistency. And we can always add more broth or liquid
That looks
to
like
adjust it.
cornstarch.
Right, and cornstarch does a similar thing. What's the goal of putting cornstarch in something? It thickens sauces. The thing about cornstarch is it's a relatively benign, flavor-wise substance. It doesn't have a lot of flavor. Raw flour, on the other hand, makes things taste like kind of a raw dough batter quality to the flavor. You don't want that.
I love that.
And
Cookie dough.
Cookie dough. It has to be cookie dough. Chocolate.
it's incredible that young people survive the rigors of eating during the time of their youth. But they do. It's an amazing thing.
Cookie dough ice cream is good too. Cookie dough ice cream.
Yeah, and they're durable.
Peppermint patty
You will
ice
extract
cream.
nutrients from things that other life forms cannot extract those nutrients from.
Not cookie dough?
I don't know about that. it's getting worse and worse and harder and harder.
Do you eat cookie dough?
Very, very rarely. I would say every few years I might come in contact with raw cookie dough. But I'm not totally against the idea. It's just the habitual thing. The habitual things are what makes us enjoy less good health. If it is ceremonial, on the other hand, you can have some real good fun with some really weird food. I know I have. Pizza, for example. Pizza, if you say, is pizza good for you? What's on the pizza? How has it been made? What are the ingredients?
Who made
What
it?
kind of crust is it on, most importantly? Well, most pizza is white dough, refined white flour, bromated bleached white flour, which doesn't have any nutrition left in it. It has artificial nutrients added back into it after they've stripped it all out of it. Is that a good thing to eat? No, not really, and that's most of what pizza is. But if you make pizza yourself using good ingredients, good flour, good toppings, it can be a very healthful, very delicious, very satisfying food.
Do you want me to
Well,
try
that's a
this off?
condiment. It's a condiment and it's loaded with salt and probably pretty low-grade cuts of meat because it's usually made in vast quantity by people who are looking at the bottom line and the lowest common denominator. They want to give the lowest quality and the lowest expenditure at the highest possible profit in the hugest volume. Is that a great formula for good health and good food? Absolutely not.
This smells like spaghetti sauce.
Some of those same seasonings are there. It does have a little bit of time. Of course, garlic, there is tomato in there, onion, all of those things are there. And you make spaghetti sauce at home, right? Yeah, exactly. So you know the deal.
All right, ask the
Should
question.
maybe in a career in culinary arts?
What is that?
Cooking. Professionally. Yeah. Yeah? Excellent.
When do I start?
Leave your numbers with the secretary and we'll be calling you at the first emergency, which always happens in the restaurant business.
So I
I'll
can
never
start?
forget what's his name. I cooked with him on Kids in the Kitchen and he had showed excellent knife skills. That's how you get jobs. People remember you and you're called in a disaster and suddenly you're part of the team. Guy who was my sous chef at another restaurant, he was a bartender at my restaurant. One night we were completely destroyed in the kitchen. We could not succeed. We were going to go down in an absolute ruin. He jumps in, appears with an apron on saying, what do you want me to do? I told him do this. He started doing that and then he started figuring out what to do on his own. I had him in the kitchen for years and then he went off and started his own kitchen and his own cooking consultancy. A successful
So
guy
you
and a
said
real
he's
smart
famous?
guy. He was famous to me, and that was important. And it's a question of an opportunity presenting itself, and somebody filling that opportunity and doing well. Now here we go. We browned up our roux, and we've got the consistency we want. Okay, that's good.
Take this and
We've
put it
got
in
that.
there?
Absolutely right. And we're going to whisk it in. That's nicely hot. Good. Everything's off. My whisk. Here it is. Ready. I'm going to do again because I'm pouring hot liquid out of an ungainly pan. I am doing this myself. I'd love to have you guys do it, but it's a little dangerous. It is sometimes called a wire whip.
Can I stir it?
Yeah, once we get this fully incorporated, I'm seeing some unfortunate lumps, and we don't want those. So we're going to whisk them in as best we can. We're going to scrape down the sides. We're going to reduce this heat because it's a little too high. We want to just simmer it into the right consistency. If we start boiling it, it's going to get too thick too fast. And we also, would you do me a favor and get some water in? Hold on, is this too hot? You can grab that successfully. You put some more water in there. This might thicken up quickly, and then we'll want to add a little bit of water to adjust the consistency. I think this might work out okay. Look at that. And then once I get this all whisked in, it will need to be stirred with that rubber spatula. Oh, did you take a look in the oven? Are our fries doing anything, or are they showing any signs of getting brown and
How about this?
crispy? They're not? Bummer. Okay, that can stay for now. We might add a little bit more. I just want to have it on hand and ready to go. Thank you very much. What's that? Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Now what's happened? Is this, okay. That's nice and warm. Would you please be so kind as to hand me a tasting spoon from the second or the last drawer? Second to the end, or I'm not sure which one it is. Spoons? A couple of spoons, because we want to taste the sauce and see what's going on. In fact, let's all taste it and figure out where it's at, and I will make my assessment. You guys tell me what you think, because you have different palates than I do.
What are the little black things in there?
A few little flecks of herb came through. That might be like a thyme leaf. I'm thinking it probably is. Oh, no, it's an ant.
It's a what?
It's a thyme leaf. Interesting. Pardon me, seconds. I think it needs more seasoning. It's a little sweet from the carrot and the onion, and it needs a little more savoriness, and I think it needs also a little bit of acid.
Good. Acid.
Acid.
Is this tomatoes?
Salt.
What
Can
do
be
you
good.
mean acid? Like
We're going to add a little bit of
kind
tamari and a
acid?
little bit of salt. Acids can help balance the sauce, particularly if it doesn't have any lift, if it doesn't have any zip. So acid could be vinegar. Acid could be lemon juice.
Oh.
Yeah.
Vinegar.
Yeah.
Lemon juice.
Yeah, it is.
Which one are you going to put in?
I don't know. Let's see
How
where it
about
goes.
lemon
Here.
juice?
Well, we need a lemon then.
Okay.
We'd have to run out to the produce department and all that stuff. Let's see. We might be able to get away with just a whisper of vinegar. We'll see what goes on. Just a touch.
I love
And actually, that'd be
vinegar.
great on vinegar. Is fantastic on potatoes. I'm kind of tempted to move in that direction. I think we've got some actually on hand in the drawers below.
Ooh,
What's
put
here?
some
Can
vinegar
I
on
check in here
potatoes.
really quickly?
That's good. Go. Red wine vinegar. Is that legal for us?
You bet it is, because it doesn't have any alcohol in it.
Okay.
And it smells wonderful. It smells like vinegar. You're going to hate that.
Ooh, it smells good.
You lie like a true statesman.
It does.
Ready for a career in politics.
Oh, that just smells good.
Okay, I'll see what's going on
Sweet
now.
and sour chicken.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's one of the predominant things. You're absolutely right. Vinegar is a factor. Now, a spoon? Has this one already been through this? No, it has not been actually schlorked all over. All right. It's getting better.
Better.
Yeah. A little bit of sauce.
A little bit of
A
sauce.
little bit of sauce in our salt. Yeah.
Salt.
Okay, check out our spuds. You should be getting very close on those right now.
Soy sauce.
Sauce. Oh, they're sizzling!
Oh, beautiful.
Okay, now what we want to do is if we can scrape them over onto the other side, then we'll get a little more caramelization, and that's what we're looking for. Let's, so, man, look at that. See the steam that's coming off of that? There's many different kinds of cooking, and you'd think that deep frying in hot fat would be wet cooking. It's considered dry cooking because it doesn't add any moisture to the food. It actually takes moisture out of the food. And that's the same as what's happening here. You see all the steam that's flying out of there? Dry cooking. It's removing moisture from this. Look at them sliding around on here, too. This is turning out.
She put one in there.
Deep fry.
A single
We're getting our sauce nice and hot. It's already steaming. Okay, let's get our bowls in place for the sauce. That's a sauce
We
bowl.
get to eat all these?
The fries may be consumed, but you may not eat all of them yourself. They must be distributed amongst the masses. All must be fed.
Like we get to eat all the fries in general?
Nope.
And thus, yeah, just dip your fry in the sauce, and no dipping back in after you bit off the end of it. Or you can pour some of the sauce over your fries if you really like it. The idea is sauce.
Yeah.
Have some, and there's lots of sauce.
It's a whole new way to enjoy French fries.
Good eating French fries.
Hey, that's as I said. My sauce.
Is this me? That's me.
I like baked potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do it. So. You would eat it raw. I can't do it. So.
Yeah, they're not as crispy as I was hoping for, but they have a nice, moist texture. They got a good flavor. And of course, they're potatoes. How could they be bad? Pardon me? Second?
Potato, potato. Potato.
More potato with the sauce. This concludes another episode of Kids in the Kitchen.
Remember, we're from Thomas Jefferson Middle School.
And I'm Kayla.
I'm Amanda.
I'm Anthony.
I'm Cody. And I'm Felicia.
And we're
Kids in the Kitchen.